Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us from all the peoples and gave to us his Torah. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah. This week's Torah portion, I want to bring attention and I want to talk a little bit about the fact that when he appeared to Moses as a burning bush. He was fire on the bush, but the bush, it was burning, but it wasn't consumed. It was a burning bush. And Egypt, Pharaoh, he was somebody who he just had no care for the things of God. He didn't care anything about what God wanted. He said, and he did say, who is God? And again, like it's a lasting impression individually and just in every way that God really is an all-consuming fire. But with the bush didn't burn up, but it was consumed. It's this Torah portion that he himself comes down, and in this Torah portion he takes the firstborn, and he made a difference between the children of Israel and all the other peoples that were in Egypt. But the difference was made if they had covered the doorposts of their house with the blood of the lamb. And then any house that wasn't covered, then they lost their firstborn. And it says that after this happened, he sent him out. Not only did he send him out, but he sent him out in the night. During the night, when it was darkest, he sent him out. And he said, even bless me too. And they had really spoiled Egypt because they had taken all the goods with them, and then there was a mixed company. There were people that went with them that weren't of the children of Israel. They went with them. You know, it takes a lot sometimes. It takes a lot to understand truly the amount of renewal and the amount of fresh, the amount of newness, the amount of struggle, the wrestle that we see between our own conscious free will and desires, and kind of to let things be as they've always been, and God's struggle for us to be in His will and to be holy. What does Pharaoh in this Torah portion, in this segment, this is the third week, and we're still here in the same narrative. We're still here. We're still in the same story of Moses in Egypt, and now they're leaving. They're given Passover. He tells them He gives them the festival, the feast day, and the time for his Passover. And lets them know that because I will pass over. God says that he's going to pass over. It's not like it's such a high holy moment, really. It's very intimate. I know a lot of naysayers will watch this or they'll hear this story. They've heard it for thousands of years, and they've said, "My gosh, he came in and he took all the firstborn of the cattle and the people that no matter who it was that didn't have the blood on the doorpost. He did this. Yes, he did. He did it. He is God." I tell you, he didn't let anybody do it. He did it himself. He said that he would do it. So here, what you can really believe is that I just want to ask you, how many times in history do we know it recorded that the actual living God, the actual God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob actually came down to earth, actually came down to the planet? I mean, he was there for a reason, and that this was important, and it was important, and he set it as a festival date to never be forgotten, to be practiced as a foreshadowing of Messiah. And he literally passes over. And there was a cry in Egypt that's never been and never shall be again. Ever. And they sent, Pharaoh came out and he called him out in the night and he says, "Leave." He says, "Go out from me, go, and bless me also." See what Pharaoh says this time. Listen to these words. Because in the beginning I told you that, or some weeks ago and even last week I believe I shared with you that we're all like Pharaoh. It doesn't matter which character you choose in the story. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters. Okay? But whoever you choose for the story, whatever you look at, whatever you listen to, whatever you read, every character in the story leads you to one thing, and that's to God, that he is God. Pharaoh is a great example of this, as he comes out in the night, bereaved of his son, and God warned him from the very beginning. 9 plagues later, he does it. And after he does it, Pharaoh finally gets the picture. He finally gets the message. He's a burning, all-consuming fire. Yet the bush remained. In our lives, there may be times where we're like Pharaoh. In our lives, there may be times where we're like Moses. In our lives, there may be times when we're like Bitna, the one that put her hand out and drew little Moses in, or like his actual mother. There may be times where we're like Aaron. There may be times where we're like the priest of Midian. It doesn't necessarily, and I know that one may be kind of difficult to understand, the priest of Midian one, but truly, in this story, with either it's Pharaoh or Moses or Aaron, Bitna or his mother, his dad, or whichever one you look at, the children of Israel, the people of Egypt, what God had done to Pharaoh He had destroyed, he had ruined Egypt. His counselors said, "Don't you see that Egypt is ruined? Let them go, let them leave." But he continued. And God carried out all 10 plagues. And in the end, he comes running out. Go, leave, go serve God and bless me also. Those are words that, it may not be in the same frame of reference, you'd say, from a gospel, like a disciple or something running out to you and saying, "Go and serve the Lord and bless me also," but nonetheless, he goes out in haste in the middle of the night and says, "Go, serve the Lord, go, bless me also." Sometimes you can come to the Lord in our lives. We can either come to the Lord in this life, like Moses did, humbly, shocked, just, just willing to turn our head, go up that mountain and see that burning bush, see that all-consuming fire. You can go like Pharaoh. He can take everything from you. He can remove everything from your life until you're willing to admit that you can't get in his way, that you need his blessing also. Now I know that later he goes running down later in another Torah portion, probably next week. He goes running him down. He gets buried underwater. Historically, they found that wheel. They found that golden wheel, that four-spoked wheel made of gold that was Pharaoh's chariot. They found it. The bottom of the sea, it was covered in coral. They took the coral off, and it perfectly molded the coral around the golden wheel, and there the golden wheel was. Pharaoh's wheel. Right there where they crossed. It's unforgettable what happened. It's absolutely unforgettable. Egypt represented a complete mindset, a complete life that was away from God. God showed up, and he was coming to fulfill a promise, coming to pick up his children. He calls, in this Torah portion, he calls them out as his own firstborn. And like so many of us, we try to get in the plans, we try to get in the way of what God's doing, whether we know it or whether we're conscious of it or not conscious of it. We've all done it. We've all been guilty of it. And I think, if anything, that's kind of the one thing I wanted to touch on. Story portion was just unbelievable. Just the greatest. Must have been the most wondrous thing anybody had ever seen on planet Earth. All of Egypt, those plagues, all that stuff, and then that. It's God doesn't abuse our free will. He doesn't do it. He didn't do it with Pharaoh. He didn't do it with the people of Egypt. He didn't do it with Israel. He didn't do it with anybody. You'd have to be honest with you, to be completely honest with you, if you'd think that situation in any way, whether it was God who did something right or or anyone, which it was God. It was only God. And he used Moses and used Aaron, and he worked miracles and wonders through them. But if you think that them being in slavery, the way they were, the harsh slavery they were under, and the arrogance and the attitude of this man who's calling himself to be God, lording all of his people, was right, then you're of reprobate mind. You have a reprobate mind. You're just that's reprobate mind. What God did was something we would want God to do. What God did is beyond what we can measure, awesome, what we would expect from a real living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And he does it in a way that thousands and thousands of years later, no matter how many times you tell this story, no matter what angle you look at it from, no matter what, next to the story of Jesus itself, you have never heard a better story in your life. Ever. It is incredible. It is phenomenal. It is awe-inspiring. It is the story of the Lord. Every picture that you see in recording Passover, all of it is a picture of Messiah, the lamb being slain, the blood being put on the doorposts, him dying, him shedding his blood for us, him putting his blood on the doorposts of our hearts. The Lord telling them that, these words that he was giving them, this festival, this sanctifying time, that was, that there'd be like frontlet bands between our hands, and engraved on our hands like front bands between our eyes. I mean, never, it's like, never could you forget something like that. Never could you make a story like that up. It's beyond just human makings. It really is. So, everything, that's basically what really struck me with this Torah portion, is just he burnt up everything. God consumed everything. He literally consumed Egypt like a fire. And he brought his children out of that fire. He consumed everything around them. In our own personal lives, if you were to make a microcosm, a very, very, very minute microcosm, almost elusive microcosm of this story in our personal lives, you could say that in your life there have been people, there have been things, there have been, television, or substances, drugs, alcohol, addictions, whatever it is, where you just were like, God, no, don't take that away from me. Or you were on the other side, like, God, I don't even know how to ask for something better for myself. You were just like Israel, you were just so broken. You were so broken. You were just praying. And you were just like in the spirit, You take all that away. You take all that physical stuff away. That gets taken from us anyway. We all are going to have that taken from us. We're going to have it taken from us to even be able to carry ourselves to bed. We're going to have it taken from us to even, in every one of our lives, if we live long enough, probably, to not even be able to use the bathroom by ourselves. But God strengthened their spirit. He showed up in the middle of the night, and He sent nobody else to do it. He was for the spirit of those people. He was for the spirit of His firstborn of Israel. For those that He had called, for those that He had promised to. He was their God. And He did everything beyond mythology. He did everything beyond mysterious, beyond phenomenal. When Pharaoh says in our lives, when we say, "Who is God?" When Pharaoh says, "Who is God?" and when Moses says, "Who am I?" God says, "I am." The people of Israel cry out and asked for a Savior. When they cried out and they asked for God, it was "I am" that showed up. It was by the name of the Lord that He showed Himself. We all need a real Lord in our life, real love in our life. We all need real spiritual life, spiritual, to keep it beating, to believe in the Spirit, to believe in what's real, what's eternal, to believe, to be able to remove and put things in place in our life, to put that focus back on Him. That's what this story, what I want to talk about this Torah portion, that's what's real. It's not about all the wonderment. It's not about all the miracles. It's not about all that stuff that happened. It's about His love for us, His love for His people, His love for righteousness, His love for what's right, for it's true. He's not God. He's not man that He should lie. He said that He will do it, and He will fulfill it. And that's exactly what He did. Anyway, there's so much in this Torah portion. There's so much the Sabbath to be enjoyed. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Let me read a closing blessing on this one. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'karei olam nata betokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gave to us the Torah of truth and life everlasting, and set in our midst. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah. Shabbat Shalom.